The following is a conversation with Jess Gargan. To date, Jess has had an outstanding football career. She's been capped twice internationally for the Irish first team, and she started her senior career at 16 at Peamount United. Today, Jess is back with Shelbourne after 1 year previously with Shamrock Rovers. However, she did win back-to-back titles with Shells before her stint at Shamrock Rovers. Jess is more than just a footballer. She's a very disciplined individual, is now a qualified financial advisor working for AIB, and is juggling both full-time work and also football work with Shells at the moment. We hope you enjoy this podcast. I think there's a lot to gain from it for anybody that wants any insight into how players are managing full-time careers and also their football careers, and for younger players too, about the glitz and glamour of what football is, and then also potentially, if you are thinking of a career in the game, about the different options that there are available. Don't forget, if you're watching on YouTube, please like this video, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel as well. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify podcasts, please leave anywhere up to a 5-star review if you think that the podcast is worth it. These are zero cost ways to help us build this podcast and bring more value to you guys as the listeners. The Training 1-to-1 podcast is proudly sponsored by Financial Planning Matters. We recently recorded a latest episode with the founder of Financial Planning Matters, Niall O'Connor. In the episode, we talk about a couple of the basics of what the services they provide do, ways to get in contact, and just various stories about managing your financial future. Here is the thumbnail, and you can find the link for that video in the show notes below.
You're hostile.
Me?
There's a notorious thing with Gary.
Okay.
Yeah.
Every Tuesday.
It's Tuesday. Tuesday is the worst day of the week, by the way.
It is.
Yes.
Fair.
But Gary turns up to Tuesday sessions and he's just
Angry.
moody.
Yeah.
It's more moody
Tuesdays
than
are
angry.
tough, yeah.
Yeah. I don't like them. It's too long for me.
Rank
Yeah.
your days of the week. Go on.
Of like best to
Best to
worst.
worst, yeah.
Weekends included.
Yeah.
Saturday first.
Fact.
Love Saturday. Thursday's a strong second for me.
Okay.
I agree, yeah.
Yeah.
Tuesdays are up there. Yeah.
Lovely.
I'm
Yeah.
here for it.
Friday's third.
Yeah.
Sundays are fourth.
Yeah.
Wednesdays are fifth. Mondays are sixth. Tuesdays are seventh.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree much. I
Yeah.
split
Yeah?
Sunday into two.
Oh, you told me
Second
you.
best day.
No, I was in, sorry, I have 8 days technically, so I've split Sunday into two parts because the
Yes.
Sunday morning is unbelievable, but Sunday evening is the worst day. Part of a day.
Yeah.
So the worst day is Tuesday, then it's Sunday evening, Monday,
Yeah, you're right.
Wednesday,
Yeah.
and then it gets good. So it goes like I get your Thursday or Friday will flip, and then it's Sunday morning, and then Saturday's the best. On Friday somewhere like
He's not playing Fortnite, brother.
Yeah, it's true.
harsh.
Not on Xbox. What's your favorite days?
They'd be close to yours.
Close, yeah.
Yeah, Saturday number 1. Probably Thursday number 2, yeah, because Friday's just busy. Like, you're going straight from work to train, and that
Yeah.
night you're home, you're preparing for game for Saturday, so it's not
Yeah.
really fun.
Uh-huh.
So Saturday, Thursday, Sunday. Tuesday's probably the worst, yeah. I would agree.
Tuesday's
Mondays I can get over, but the Sunday night, you're right, the Sunday night's the preparing for work part, but yeah, no, Saturdays and Thursdays.
Sunday, I have grown to love Sunday. You know that? I've grown to love it. The tricky part with Sundays is that you play games on
Oh,
Yeah,
Sundays. So it's so difficult to...
All right, Morgan, you're a podcast.
It's alright.
that is a bit of a loose mic.
okay.
Just
Oh.
keep it. But
Yeah.
when... The reason I have a fondness for Thursday is because when we just started Training 1-to-1, let's say from post-COVID until I would say the start of this year, we used to be on the pitch every single night.
Yeah.
So Thursday was the one night that we were on the
Yeah.
pitch.
Okay.
So I just had this fascination of, as soon as the day hits like 5 or 6, like I'm done.
Right.
Which I used to love. And it's kind of still like in my psyche now. And that's why I always have this like weird affiliation between different days, because Tuesday I haven't been off the pitch in about 10 years.
Okay.
I would say. And even like through
It's just
college
a
and all.
bad day, Tuesday. It's just bad.
Well, every day is a blessing, Gary.
That's it.
First and foremost. But secondly,
If there was a worse day.
if there was. I'm not saying there is, but if there was.
The atheists are going to be coming after us now.
Who?
The atheists.
What do you mean?
Could you bringing up a blessing?
A blessing?
Yeah.
You don't need to be religious to have a blessing.
Surely you do.
I don't think so.
Do you not?
No.
What's the definition of blessing?
I'd say it's very similar to gratitude. And gratitude is definitely nothing to do with religion.
Fact check that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A blessing is God's favor and protection. A prayer for divine, a prayer for divine favor and protection.
All right, you maybe got me. Is that the
A
Oxford Dictionary?
favor or gift bestowed by God, thereby bringing happiness.
Is that the Oxford Dictionary? If it's not that, I'm not counting it.
It was just Google
That water is good.
how to pronounce blessing.
You're going too far in the rabbit hole.
Yeah, so I think it is a religious thing.
All right, fair enough. You got me. Well, anyway, Jess Gargan's here today.
Nice to join us.
Yeah, she's here, and much better than talk about blessings and gratitude. To be fair though, I would go down that rabbit hole as well. To be fair, but Morgan reminded me, and I thought this was the case. You come from a very prestigious road in Swords
Yep.
that has many a fullback, many a footballer, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, you are the fourth person on this podcast who has lived on that road.
Is it 4?
Possibly, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
who? Dara, Sean.
Jess.
Third.
Oh, it's third. Three. Thanks, Morgan. behind
Jamie's
the camera.
also from Swords, though. That's my way of
Yes.
thinking. Yeah, she's
I think-
only up the
yeah.
road from me as well. Yeah, yeah.
How far? Like 10 minutes?
Oh no, like 2 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, it's like me here, Megan here, Jamie here. We literally live on the same area.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, Swords is the hub for football now. It's underrated too. I know, like, obviously they have Swords Celtic and all, but they wouldn't be in like that football triangle of like Kevin's,
No, definitely
Belvo.
not. Yeah.
Which
You
is
normally
all
start in Swords and then you'll go to the likes of
Yeah.
their teams. But yeah.
big time. And it's funny, like when we were coaching at like 12s and 13s, Swords were always very strong. But even like my sister lives there now, and when you go into Swords, it's like going into Dublin City sometimes. Like the size of it,
Yeah.
like it's ridiculous. Would you like to live there like full time?
Yeah, I actually literally just bought a place in Swords.
great.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Congrats.
So yeah, it's where I'm from. Like, as in, it's like my whole family are from there. So it's good. You're right. It's massive and it's only getting bigger as well. But it's a nice spot. Yeah, I think no matter where it's where you're from is where you kind of like and where you've grown up and where your friends and family are. So yeah, I like it there. Yeah.
That's amazing, because like you hear in traditional media about, let's say, like people in their 20s struggling to get homes and stuff. What's your key or what's your secret with that?
Discipline, I'd
Yeah.
say. Like in anything, in football and work and in outside life, is just save. Well, like, I mean, I'm living at home as well, so that helps. Obviously,
Yeah,
I'm
of
not
course.
spending stupid money on rent, which some of my friends are. So for that type of people, it's probably nearly impossible to do it on your own anyway. In your 20s, but for me, it was nice because I was living at home, so I could just save. And like we were talking about before, like I kind of work in the industry, so I have all the people around me to kind of advise me on what to do. So
Great.
that definitely helped. But yeah, it took a while, but you get there in the end, I think. But yeah, I think if you're trying to rent and do it, it's really tough. Yeah.
Yeah, no, come here. Everyone's obviously in different circumstances, so it's just a huge accomplishment per se. Like,
I knew he was going to look at me. He's just laughing at me behind the camera.
Sorry.
why is he laughing?
I was panning the camera. Just smiling. Here's the head in the middle.
I'm a rent prince, that's why. Oh,
But I was
stop.
actually, I was going to say that because I know a lot of people that are just like, they will be more favorable towards renting. Just, and even like I've got like friends in college who are the exact same, who like told me back in college, they were like, I'm just going to rent because I want the flexibility to just jump if I need to, or
Yeah.
go to different places and be flexible. Let's say if they just had like the travel bug or anything like that, you know?
That is fair, yeah. And it's something that I kind of taught, but I actually think for me, I'm a very, I don't know, how would you say it, but like I think about the future a lot. So that is something that like I did think about. But for me, I don't want to travel. I've done America, so like that's one thing. So I kind of had that out of my system. But I think if I wanted to go travel, I'd be more inclined to go now, knowing that I have somewhere there. Like I can rent that out, that can pay for itself. Because I think when I came back from the States, I like felt lost because I was like, what now? Like, you know, I'm back home. I did a degree, but it was sports science. I couldn't go into a straight job into it, and that was scary. So I think when I ever thought about like going to England or going traveling, it was like, oh, I can't come back and feel the same way. So I think having that security is like, right, when I'm coming back, I can be an adult kind of thing. I'm not going back to living with my mum and dad. So I think it helps in a way, but I completely get people's point of view on that. Like, they don't want to be stuck in the one area. So I think it's really depends on the person, to be honest, as well.
Yeah, we're so lucky in the last couple of years that there's definitely been like a shift towards like what is normal. There's no defined boundaries of what that is, and it's great that people have the flexibility just to do what they want. I remember like even chatting to like some of my older cousins and stuff. They always felt like even pressure to have kids, for example, which I thought was very interesting. Because now I don't think like, I would say like some, depends obviously on your family situation and stuff and what your circles are, but there might be some pressures and stuff. But I think like culturally Ireland has kind of shifted a little bit differently, which is interesting.
Yeah, even I don't know if you see them TikToks and it's like my parents at 27 and it's like mom, dad, married, kids, me at 27 looking for my Easter egg or something around there. It's like so different. But I think it is a lot different nowadays. Like I think people are probably being like, and myself included, like you're more selfish. Like you want to do what you want to do and there's no, I guess, need to settle down in your early 20s and have kids and get married. Like I think it's a completely different world now. I don't know who's right and wrong, but like our generation is definitely different in that way. Yeah.
I was going to say, it's a blessing, non-religious term, religious term now. It is a blessing to be able to make your own decisions, which is great.
I got to eat a milkshake
Today?
at 9:30 in the evening. My parents couldn't do that at 28.
That's fair.
Go.
So
That's a blessing.
you do you.
You mentioned America, but in the timeline of football, that is definitely not the start of it.
No.
So, if I'm not mistaken, from the reading and research that I've done today, you made your first team debut around 17 for Peamount.
Yeah.
And let's say even before the States, what did you, or why were you at Peamount earlier versus other clubs, and what did you enjoy about breaking in originally?
So I was very young age of Swords Rovers, and then I went to Shelbourne because I came like 13. I was on a boys team, and you weren't allowed to play boys after a certain age. So I went to Shells underage, but they didn't have a senior team at the time. It was Raheny, so there was no like kind of progression. There was like under 16s, under 18s, but I was only like 13 at the time. So I think I was playing under 16s, and then kind of got into the MGL, like academy kind of thing. And there was not many Shelbourne players on it for whatever reason. I think it was because there wasn't many young players my age. They were kind of older, so they were past the MGL stage. So we ended up like the likes of me, Megan and Jamie were on the MGL, but there was a lot of Peamount girls on it, and we just became really close with them, and we'd obviously play them in the league and whatnot, and our parents became close and whatnot, and then it was a really good setup there, and it still is obviously now, but they had that senior team, and it was like a progression. Like all the girls were kind of talking, like we might be able to go train with the senior team, and we were kind of sitting there like, we don't really have that option. And at the time, I was probably like 14, 15 when I went to Peamount, but no, maybe 15, but I wasn't really at underage Ireland either. Like there was under 15s there. I wasn't on that. My first one was under 16s, but I only kind of broke into that when I went to Peamount. I'm not saying they're correlated, but I think it definitely did help me. They just had a really good setup from under 16s, under 18s, and then up to the seniors. And as soon as I went to Peamount, like a lot sooner than I thought, I got called up into the senior training, and like it's mad because like you see like the young girls 16, 17 now training with us and you don't think it's anything, but like I remember when I was that age, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Like when I got told I was going up to train with the seniors, so I broke in, actually I think on my 16th birthday I signed for them and played for them straight away. But it was great, but it was kind of nice to see the progression, I guess, that it wasn't at Shells at the time because it was Raheny, it was separate, so that was probably the reason I went to Peamount to begin with, because it was far away from Swords. Like, it was a big commitment for my parents as well to bring me, but no, I loved it there, to be honest. It was a really good setup, and I think it really helped me develop.
Were you poached out, for lack of a better word, or was it kind of like you formed a great relationship with these teammates and they kind of nearly brought you with them?
A bit of both, because at the time the teammates, their parents, there was two dads. One was the 16s manager and one was the 18s manager. So we'd all have tournaments like down in Limerick for the Gainer Cup. We'd be going away. All our parents would be going away. So they'd be chatting, we'd be chatting. And then it was like, Jess should come over. And like, I was really good friends with all them. So it kind of just happened a bit of both because the parents were the coaches at that stage. They had their coaching badges and everything, but they just happened to be the coaches. So it was like a natural kind of move. Yeah, it was. But to say it was natural, it was really tough at the time to make. Oh yeah. Because like, I'm never good at making decisions. I don't like change, and like I've done a lot of it recently. But in terms of like the change, it was tough to make. But I'm happy I did it at the time. Yeah, and I guess it was a progression because there was no future looking at Shells at that point, so it was natural at the time. Yeah.
Where did football start with you, or why did you go with football instead of something else?
In Swords, that's where it really started. So like we have like a massive green on our road, and like, you know, Dara obviously and Sean was a bit younger than us in fairness, but like there was only 3 girls and the rest were lads. So like the big green, they all used to play football on the green, and it was just us kind of sitting there. And then we started to join in. We were no good, and then there was Swords Rovers, who was the team I started with. They were doing a mini leagues when maybe I was like 7, and one of the girls had heard about it, so she said, let's go down there. So we went down there, we played, we ended up doing really well, and they were starting a new team, and they just asked us to join, so we joined, and since then never looked back. So it was really started with the lads on the green. Like, if it wasn't for them, I would have never got into it. It was like, you know, my mum and dad weren't big footballers or anything. I have an older sister, she never played, so it was really just my friends on my estate. We did have kind of a really close-knit community. Like, we never left that green from morning to noon to night. Like, we were just on it every day playing football. So it was really the lads, yeah.
It's just been loads of cross and all the fullbacks.
Tell you, Darren was a really good goalkeeper. He used to play in goal a lot of the time, yeah. And then his older brother Graham as well. But it was just a really good group of footballers, thank God, yeah.
Yeah, that's gas. The primary school that me and Morgan went to, we always talk about it here, because in the school that Gary went to in primary school, you couldn't run or anything.
Right, in the yard, like.
Yeah,
it's mad, isn't it?
And me and Morgan went to a country school, but that's where Mark Travers went as well.
Oh, wow.
And the single best football I've ever seen, I've mentioned him all the time, this is a guy called Owen Donlan. Doesn't even play football, but it was just so funny. Like, you're talking about like a green, like those little environments, they just breed top players.
Yeah.
Like, you used to like watch Morgan and all in 5th class playing against Mark in 6th, and like you could even tell then like the quality was outstanding. That seems to be a very common case though. But even people say that about like kids in Brazil, for example, like they're obviously playing on the streets or in the favelas, and then they just become top grade. Like, it's kind of like Ireland's edition of that from Swords, you know.
Don't know about that.
I don't know, Jess. I could see you play for Brazil.
There you go. I just can't get over everyone's a fullback.
Yeah, it actually is mad, isn't it? Yeah. Well, I mean, I did not start out as a fullback, to be fair. I was like winger, I was centre mid, I was everywhere, but I've ended up in fullback and getting further back every year.
That happens.
The Irish at 16s, that must have been at that stage in your life. Like, obviously you made that huge decision to go to Peamount, but I never really asked anybody on the podcast, because we've had a lot of Irish underage internationals and obviously senior, which we'll get to you in a minute. But, you know, what is it like to actually hear that news, and what does it? So first of all, how does it make you feel? And secondly, what does that do to a teenager's ego?
So yeah, the news, like, it was actually weird for me. So it was like 16s and 17s. So I actually made the 17s before I made the 16s, which is strange. So I had like an extra year in the 17s, but the way the trials went. So, but I remember, I bawled my eyes out. Like, my dad was waiting for me in the AWL, and I just got in the car, and it was like obviously immense pride, because like you've worked like so hard, especially over like the likes of 13, 14, 15, where you're in the likes of your MGL, and that's where it's kind of getting serious. You're getting coached, you're getting told about nutrition, core work, and that's where your kind of school friends are going maybe a different avenue, or not a different avenue, but like they're going out at the weekend, they're not training, they're not in the gym, like you Friday nights MGL and whatnot. But definitely really proud. But in terms of ego, I think, well, my age, way back then, like 10 years ago now, I don't think anyone had an ego. Like, it wasn't a thing. We were all like, and probably too nervous at the time, but like, I don't think, well, maybe one or two, but there was no players that were really like arrogant at that age or cocky or anything like that. Even like you say, like when we were playing in the National League, it was like an absolute honour to be even training with the teams then. I think nowadays it's so much more popular for younger kids. It's almost like expected. And if they're not playing, it's like, why aren't they playing, or what's going on? Why isn't the manager playing me, kind of thing. But back then, no, it didn't. Yeah, I was very humble person. I think most people my age were at the time, but it definitely didn't. It kind of makes you more nervous than anything. I don't think I felt too confident at any point underage international. I feel like you're always on trial, even when you're in training camps. But in terms of how it made you feel, yeah, it was one of the best feelings ever, definitely, yeah.
So interesting. And the reason why I asked about the ego thing was because I'm trying to talk to more people who are at the top of the game and get a good understanding of like where the young players are now, because that kind of confirms my suspicion. I've kind of seen a bit of a shift where there seems to be like a bit of an entitlement for younger players, and that's been said in this podcast, even with a couple of the senior men and the senior women, that it's becoming a bit of a difficult challenge to actually manage the expectation of younger players. It was definitely a different time when you were at Peamount, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I don't even know, like, it's not a dig at the younger players nowadays. I don't know if it's like what people are filling them with information wise, or managers elsewhere, I don't know, telling them they should be playing, and there's kind of an expectation, so they're coming back to their clubs and like obviously wanting that expectation, and I get that too. But yeah, no, years ago it just, as I say, it was such an honour, because not many players at our age were playing senior football. So, and the small few of us that were, obviously really appreciated. And I think even when I went to Peamount, I signed just after my 16th birthday, and I remember I was doing my leaving cert and I kind of sat down with my dad and I was like, okay, this is the year I'm going to sit on the bench. Don't expect to play a minute. Like, as in, there was like Sarah Lawler, Anya Gorm, Ilo Gleeson was there, like Louis, like everyone was there. So it was just really good to be around. But it was like, I had no expectation of playing. I knew I was going to go and give it my everything, but I was like, right, it's my leaving cert year. Like, you're just going to have to sit on the bench, get through it, build your way, progress into the team. And it just happened that I actually played every game. But I think that was like a surprise for me, and it was so nice. But I never went in expecting saying, oh yeah, I have to play because my international managers tell me I should be playing, or I need to move teams to go to a lower team to get minutes. I think you have to bide your time for a year or two. Like, obviously if you're 19, 20 and you're not getting in, maybe go to another team. But I think you have to respect the process a bit more. But I guess the league is coming to that a lot of younger players are coming in as well, which is great, and some of them are already. But I think it's two different times, definitely. Yeah.
That's a big one, because it's like the profile of the league now is crazy in terms of how young some of the players are. And I think, like Gary touched on, you get a bit of that where there's one 15 or 16 year old making a debut, and then all of a sudden there's 3 or 4 going, why isn't it me? When obviously people develop at different stages, football wise, socially. The social is probably one of the biggest things about going into a
100%.
Senior dressing room. How did you find that? Because like you mentioned, there probably wasn't as many younger players breaking through, so not as many people at your age. So how did you find that transition?
I was a mute. Like, I was so quiet. Like, and I remember, because you have, like, even I remember like sitting beside like Stephanie Roach in the dressing room at 16, and it was like you're starstruck nearly. But I was very quiet. But there was a few of us. I remember Hayley Nolan was training with us at the time, and then there was like Chloe Mustaki, who was a few years older than me, but she was still around my age, so that helped a lot. And Emily Cahill was there as well. But the Peamount girls were lovely, to be fair. But I was definitely like very quiet. I was just kind of stuck to my football, in and out kind of thing. And nowadays it's so different. And I think because I was that way, you kind of, and all of this more senior players, we know how it felt. So we're very much more friendly with the younger players, maybe than it was years ago, which I think really helps them as well. But yeah, and in fairness, they're all well able to talk these days. And because there's more of them, I think it helps. They're more comfortable. Like in our team, there's like probably 6 of them that are like 16, 17, so they are comfortable, and then they've been there a year or two now. But years ago I was very quiet. I wish I could have been more outspoken, but like I was only 16, 17, and there's very few of you, so it is tough. No,
that makes sense. And you were obviously in your leaving cert year, you didn't expect to play, you played every game. Why the States? Why not kick on with Peamount?
I don't know actually when the States came about. It was probably like in 5th and 6th year. An agent got it at the time. It was very popular. It was becoming popular, and there was a lot of agents getting in contact with us players, like just like on Facebook Messenger or through an email.
Directly to you.
Yeah, swear to God, yeah. Facebook Messenger. I remember I got a few.
Jesus,
yeah.
That is dicey.
And getting in contact was that way. And like after you'd play an international tournament, your dad might get an email or something, and it just kind of, I guess, planted the seed for me. And I was very, like, at that stage I was very disciplined in football and school. I loved both. So like the thought of the States was perfect to me. Like, it was football, school. That's all it was, like 6 days a week. So for me it was like, the idea of it sounded great, but I was still really young. So I was only 17 when I left school. But I decided to go to States, but I took a year off because I knew I wasn't ready. Yeah. But in that year, I went over and visited it to make sure. It was such a big move. Like, my mum and dad were like, you're not going over without like actually seeing what it is, and they wanted to see it as well. And the good thing about it is, I don't know if a lot of people know, like, the colleges, if they want you, like, they'll pay for your flight to go over and visit it. So like, you're not just going over blindsided and never actually seeing it. Yeah, so they paid for me to go over. Family came with me, and I loved it. Like, you got to stay in the dorms for 2 nights with the girls. You got to go train, and you couldn't train with them, but you got to see what it was like. You can go to classes with them. So for me, the lifestyle really suited me at the time. I was like, I loved football. I was obsessed with it, but at the same time, I did like school as well. And I thought, like, staying with Peamount, like, the National League's always going to be there, isn't it? Like, that's the thing. Like, I'm here 10 years later. I'm still playing in the league, so I'm really happy that I did go, because in fairness, it's changed a bit, but it hasn't changed a lot. So like, to stay in the same league for 10 years, when there's an opportunity there to go get a full college degree and experience not even just football and school, but experience a different life experience.
Would it be, when it's full time as well, like the football
full-time.
And the education, so you're getting that like extra exposure.
So you're 6 days a week. So the football was 6 days a week. School was obviously 5 days a week. But our day off was a Monday. So I still have college when I didn't have football. But I loved it, Like, and not everybody would love it. Like, if you don't love football, you're not going to love it. And if you don't love college, you're not going to love it, because if you don't perform in the classroom. You can't train, like you have to keep a certain GPA, so you have to be very disciplined. But yeah, I'd do it again if I could, like, and I'd recommend anyone to do it. To be fair,
I'm going to attempt the name Quinnipiac.
Yeah, you got
Quinnipiac.
Quinnipiac, yeah.
That is the conference that you're playing in is a very nice part of America, isn't it? That's where Fairfield and all is.
Yeah, exactly.
Because my boss's daughter goes there. She's on a scholarship as well.
Fairfield's lovely. Yeah.
The campus looks amazing.
Yeah.
But like he was showing me like all the games are on like ESPN and stuff, so people can just tune in and watch it on TV. Which I just thought, I was like, what?
Yeah.
So that's like being on like Sky here, for example. Like, was that the same case when you were playing as well?
Yeah, ESPN, and not all the games, but a lot of them, they were in the same conference as us. So if you had like a championship game or any like half decent game, it would be on as well. Yeah, so and then obviously like the LOI TV, there'd be streams, so like your family at home could watch it and stuff. But like there'd be commentators, it was a really good setup, and like that's in like every single college in America. Like it's on a massive like
Hold it there. If you haven't, make sure you check out www.fpms.ie to start your financial journey today.
Like where Quinnipiac are, that's Division 1 stuff though, isn't it? Like
Division 1, yeah, but like you say Division 1, it's like probably high to middle of the pack. Like it's not number 1 at all.
Yeah.
And like I think some people think, oh, D1, D2, like if you say D2 they don't think it's as good, but like I was actually caught between Quinnipiac and a college in Miami that was D2. But the D2, they were like top of D2, and to be honest, they probably would have hammered our Quinnipiac team. So it's funny because people just think, oh, you're D1, that's deadly, or if you're D2, oh, she mustn't be that good. But like, it's sometimes to do with the schools and budgets and money, resources. It's not all just to do with the footballing level. So, but it was D1, yeah. It was a good level, yeah.
You're talking about budget there. I don't know if you have any insight into this. Did America pass a law where both men and women's teams have to get the same budget regardless of what team is the more competitive one?
Possibly, yeah. I know like all the different sports, I don't know if all the sports have the same budget. Now that could be different, but yeah, I know like where I was anyway, there was like a certain amount of full scholarships that could be given. So whether the coach decided to give like 15 full scholarships or like split them out between 20 odd players, that was their choice. But I think it could be the same. It might depend on the school, but the budgets were massive, like crazy.
How did you find going over there in terms of? I'd imagine before you went, you probably were training twice a week maybe over here, and then when you went into that environment, did you find you were of a similar level to the other girls who were there, or did you find was there an adjustment, or what was the standard like for you?
So they were really good. They gave us like a pre-season program, so for like 2 months before I went over, I had like a full schedule of gym, running. So like, and again at that stage, like I was so disciplined, like I wouldn't do anything wrong. I'd follow a program to a T, like wouldn't eat anything bad, like nothing like that. So when I went over, I was actually really ready. Like I was one of the fittest actually there, which I was surprised by. But at the same time, that year I went in, there was normally like it's like 5 or 6 freshmen that go in, but that year there was 13 of us.
Oh wow!
So the coach is actually Irish. His name's Dave Clark Sound. So he was doing a whole revamp of the team, like, and he brought in like players from Ireland, England, Sweden, everywhere. So it was kind of nice because we were all in the same environment. But the pre-season program that I got, if you stuck to it, you're all right. But it was definitely adjustment. Like then through the whole season, you were playing Wednesday, Saturday. Your only day off was Monday, but you were recovering every Monday. You were going into the ice baths because you were like it was a lot. But you get used to it pretty quick. The heat was probably tough to adjust as well. That was in Connecticut, which wasn't even that hot. Like if I went to Miami, it would have been a different story again. But once I think you followed the program, you would have been all right. But if you didn't, you would have been considering you're only playing 2 days, we're training 2 days a week over here. Where
did your discipline come from?
Good question. I don't know. I guess maybe like my parents, like is like they weren't that strict growing up, but I guess they led by example. But I think again it goes back to like I keep on going back to Swords, but like we like lived in a bubble, even though like Swords is a busy spot. Like none of us, like we all obviously went to school, we were all in the same school, we all went to school, we all came home from school, but we didn't really go out to our school friends outside of school because we had such a close friend group in our state, like right beside each other. So I think it just came from internal, like nothing really distracted us. And not that we played football every second, we hung around with each other as well, but I don't know, it was a mix of just, I guess, coming from a good community, family, and then yeah, I guess I love to learn. So like whether it's school or whether it's like learning from somebody, I just take on board what was being told to me. But I guess it just happened over time, really. Yeah. But I think football was probably a foundation of that as well. Like when I got into MGL, that's probably when you had to start working harder. Like, yeah, really committing yourself. I remember we used to have these food diaries, and you have to write everything you had every day, how many liters of water you had, what core exercise you did, and all that. And I don't know, because I guess I really wanted to progress in football and play for Ireland, it was just like something that you did. Like you didn't think twice about it. So I think it was kind of the MGL years, like 13, 14, 15, when you kind of built that discipline, yeah.
And that leads me to my next question. So would you consider yourself to be quite like mission driven or like goal driven?
Yeah, probably too much.
Yeah.
My friends kind of always say about me, yeah, I am. And probably the last year or two, I'm trying to like get a healthy balance. But yeah, I think I always have a goal and like you're trying to get to it, but you kind of have to, I guess, in the process, remember to enjoy it as well. And I think like underage international, I think at that stage, probably a lot of us were the same. You're always, and even probably still now as well, like the younger players, you're always thinking of the next thing. Like you make the 17s, oh, but I can make the 19s, and the 19s are going here, and I want to be on this team, and she made this team, so why am I? Like you were saying, like you're constantly, and then you even see players now, like they're 17, 18, and like they're like, why am I on the senior team yet? And you're like, just enjoy your underage football. Like you're going to get to senior team, you might sit on the bench for 3 or 4 years, like enjoy your underage football before you're worried about the senior team. But I think a lot of, I don't know about males, but female athletes anyway, we're all like that. You always have a goal and you're trying to work towards it constantly, yeah.
And it's a very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot I think we could like dig into. So this is just something that's kind of picking at me. You said there that you are trying to shift away from being too goal oriented. I had the exact same thing about, I'd say 2 years ago, maybe about a year, where I was like, I'm way too intense. Like far too intense. Did you have like a penny? Why are you laughing? You agree? That's what.
I'm way too intense.
Did you have a penny drop, or did somebody say something to you, or like how come you're shifting away? Because it's been quite successful for you to the point where you played for Ireland senior. You're obviously in one of the best teams in the country. Successful job, successful football career. Why change?
Funny, like actually, I think my most successful year football wise anyway was 2022 when we won the league with Chelsea the second time. The year I left, like yeah. And that was probably the year that not that I didn't set any goals, like, but I was just enjoying football the most and enjoying life the most. And I think that's because I wasn't thinking of senior team, I wasn't thinking of anything like that. And I think the year before was the year that we won the league as well. But so I was at 2020, kind of COVID year before, just before Noel King came in actually. I was like too goal driven, and it was like I was on the senior team, the Ireland team, then I got dropped, and then it was like I need to get back on it. I need to do this and this and get back on it. And I think I focused too much on it that I wasn't enjoying it. Then I wasn't playing at Shells, no mind getting on the Ireland team, and that kind of made me realise probably that like don't like, who cares who's at the game, who's watching, like just focus on your own performance and enjoying it with Shells. And then the next year that's what I did. So I think probably 2020, 2021 it was like, and I'm still as disciplined, like, but just not as like focused on the end goal and just actually enjoying
the process.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Lovely.
But it's such a hard thing to do, like constantly, yeah. Even outside of football as well, it's really tough, yeah.
Don't start.
We can hear all night.
Oh, honestly.
When you came back then from the States,
Yeah.
it was Shells then, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Why Shells? Why not back to Peamount? What was the kind of landscape like when you were coming back?
I came back and yeah, I graduated early because I wanted to come back for the start of the season, and because we had the student games that year in summer. So if I had to stay till what would have been normal graduation was like May, I wouldn't have had that opportunity for the student games, and I would have been playing like spring season, which in your senior year isn't really anything because you're not aiming towards the next year because you're gone. Yeah. So when I came back, I actually met with Peamount. I think I met Peamount before I met with Chelsea, but the summers every year I was in college in America, I'd come back and train, obviously, and one year it was Peamount, the next year it was Shells. Shells is obviously a lot closer to me, so it was handier, and I remember I was going up with Jamie at the time. But when I came back, I met with Peamount with James and Vinny, and obviously I was pretty much a right back by then, and James's daughter Lauren plays right back, so he was kind of like, centre back, left back, right wing, and I was like, I don't know if I really want to play them positions, like. And then Shells wasn't even, I think Peamount probably wanted me more at the time than Shells did, because Shells, I think it was was it Owen here who was their manager maybe? Their management changed anyway. So it was Dave Bell who came in fresh. So he was like only coming in as well. And obviously I played under him all underage international. But it wasn't a case of like, he was only finding his feet as well. But I think I just chose Shells because I thought I had probably a better chance of getting into the team. Even though Shells were as good as Peamount, I think positional wise, I just didn't feel like I was gonna get in at the position I wanted at Peamount maybe. And I just trained with Shells the year before and I really enjoyed it. The girls were sound and I think it just made more sense for me at the time. So and then Dave Bell was coming in, who I knew as well really well. So yeah, that's why I went to Shells.
Yeah, couple different parts of the jigsaw were aligning quite well. Yeah, that makes sense. What did Shells do very well in the back-to-back years that they won the league, and what did they do well for that first period that you were there?
The back-to-back league, it's so hard because you can like, we weren't like, it was under Noel King obviously, we weren't overly coached, but I think it worked. You know what I mean? Like you can be on a team and be under a manager that does everything to a T and overanalyzes your team, the other team and whatnot. I think, well, for me personally anyway, like I played my best football under Noel King and it was because he gave me that confidence and he gave me that freedom. Like even say I'd be a very attacking fullback and like you come up against the bigger teams, Peamount, Wexford, and you'd be like, you know, Rossi's in your head left wing and you'd be going to Noel, oh, like, do you want me to hold back here? And no, do what you always do. Don't worry about them. So I think it was just the freedom and probably the confidence that he instilled in everyone more than anything. I think we all really enjoyed them years. Like that was probably the best 2 years of my life. Like, but yeah, there was no real secret. It was more just we were all playing with confidence, I think, and that's especially in women's football. Like that means more than anything, I think. Yeah,
it's interesting because people would say that about coaching that there's no secret as to give players confidence, but I know from coaching it's so difficult. Like that example you gave, we were playing the big team, and it's like, do I want my fullback going on? I know it's like how much you stick or twist. I remember seeing a great quote, and it was after
a quote. Be careful now.
A quote from an article from the Athletic, which is good, but it basically was talking about Liverpool under Klopp against Pep, and it was one of the games where they just went like hell for leather, playing their own style, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it kind of summed up that they both just played to their strengths, just exposed their own weaknesses, and were kind of like, whoever comes out on top. But that idea of coaching, and you'll obviously attest to this too, where it can be tough because you're going, ooh, I don't know if I want to go that way because I can go this way. So it sounds in theory like, oh, just give your players confidence, but to actually make them decisions in that moment, because that could go wrong in that game. You could get caught out 3 times. Yeah. She scores 3 goals, and then it's like, well, that was terrible coaching, so to speak. It's funny because it seems so easy in theory to say it, but actually carrying it out on a sideline or pre-game or whatever it is it's a different ball game.
And I think then like it obviously goes back to like the team as well. Like the Shells team, they have like the best dressing room I've ever been in, and like we were saying before, like a good mix of people. So you have your coaches obviously, but then it's what happens on the pitch, and like the players, Pearl, the captain, Rachel, the older girls, the younger girls, everybody, like we're a very close-knit team. And I think what I love about the team is that the want to win is probably more than anything. Like you can have all the coaching points, all the talent and whatnot, but when it comes down to the likes of Peamount Shells and Wexford Shells and the bigger games, it's not always like technically the best game, but it's who actually wants the game more and who wants to win. So I think we had a lot of hunger in them 2 years as well, which obviously really helped.
Why shift to Rovers then after 2 great years?
Good question. Everybody asks it.
Morgan's reaction.
There's no straight answer, to be honest.
Like, I didn't think there would be.
No, and that's the thing. Like, and it's something I always think about. Like, and I think like even before we won the double, and like as you said, like that, and I said it myself, like they were the 2 best years of my life, football wise and just like enjoyment wise, and I guess on the pitch, but I think there was like the last couple of months, like I was saying, I'm a very particular person. Like I'm not diagnosed with OCD, but I definitely have like something like I'm very like need a plan, and I think we're very much not organised maybe in the background a bit. Like we're just training was constantly in different locations. We didn't really have a home as per se. Like now we're in the AOL, we have that, like we're training every day there, but it wasn't always the case. And I think like looking back, I'm like, why did that annoy you so much? Like it's something so small, but it was the smaller details that were probably frustrating, because we were back-to-back champions, we were like really successful for the club, and we didn't have, I guess, the organizational piece behind it. That was one reason, but I think yeah, I don't know. I was there 4 years. I was like, oh, do I need a change? And then, like I was saying, in 2021, when I got on the Ireland team, then I got dropped, and then I was in home base all that time, and I was like, oh, it's coming up to the World Cup. You have Rovers knocking on your door, and they're going, like, they're not going full time, but they're going hell for leather at it. Like, they have everything in place, and I was like, oh, maybe if I make this move, it might give me a better chance. Like, it might show Vera that I'm actually serious about football and like taking the next step, going professional. So there was a few things, and but there's no one real reason. And like sometimes I ask myself, why did I leave? Because it was kind of like a head versus heart thing. I didn't want to be honest. But like in my head, when you're talking to Rovers and you're weighing up the pros and cons, and it wasn't a decision I made easy. Like, wrote down on a piece of paper, like, what's the good things, what's the bad things here. And I think I did what my head told me to do. But it was heartbreaking leaving Chelsea, to be honest. It wasn't easy, but I guess it's what I wanted to do at the time. So I can't say I regret it, but I can't tell you really why I did it in the end. But I guess when I talked to Collie, and that's like, Rovers were unbelievable, to be honest. Like, they the setup, and I don't know if yous have been up there before, but like, obviously, you know Orla White and stuff, and like, the setup is impeccable. Like, it's perfect. The facilities, the club, the support, the coaching staff, down to the physios, doctors, is perfect. So like, when I went up there to kind of have a look around, it was like, oh, it's a no-brainer. It was night and day, the difference in terms of everything off the pitch. Exactly. Like, but, and I guess, like, and when you're kind of making that decision, like, I spoke to Pearl like days on end about it, like, and she was kind of saying, like, that means nothing in football, you know, like, you can have everything you want in football, like, in terms of facilities, all that kind of stuff, but that doesn't bring back like the team, the dressing room. And she was right, like, and I couldn't see that at the time, but I think I was just like in this mindset, and obviously a few of us where we all left, but yeah, it was a strange one when you look back, and considering I had like the best 2 years of my life, but yeah, it's done now.
It's not like you just went off a whim. Like, you definitely, you don't come across a person that makes impulsive decisions. You know, it definitely sounded like at that time, with those pain points, with different layers, as you were saying, like, let's say the Irish setup, the pain points that you were feeling at that stage, maybe like 4 years ago, want to change. It could be something small, like, and then all those things add together, and then you make a decision. I was kind of like nearly
forcing myself to believe that I needed to get out of a comfort zone, even though, like, yeah, I don't know, like, it was a strange one, but I was like, oh, you need to move, you need to make the move, like, and then it's like, you had a professional contract on the line, and not like professional contract, you're still training 3 nights a week, but it was a step up in terms of the training, the intensity, the gym, like, Orla was there, like, it was a step up in that regard. So it was kind of like, what was I at the time, 25, 26, I'm like, it's kind of, do that now and try it, or you're not going to try it. And in the background then, before I moved to Rovers, after that season, it was the December, I'd met an agent about, he was saying, oh, you should go to England, you know, I could get you moved to England, get you a better chance of getting to the World Cup. So you kind of have that in the back of my mind. So, and I was never really sold on it, but I was like, oh, maybe this is a stepping stone to see if I wanted to make that next step. And I'm probably glad I did it that way, then go straight from Shells to getting a move to England. That would have been rushed. It was their mid-season break. It was, and I would have hated it, to be honest, I think. So I'm glad I kind of did the Rover step before I went from Shells over to the likes of England, at taking a contract that was kind of probably just going to be thrown at you last minute in the mid-season break because of someone being injured or something. So yeah, there was a few things to it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Interesting. On the football aspect, did you find a massive difference playing in their system versus what Shells did the last couple of years? I'm guessing it was a bit more hands-on the coaching aspect versus, you said, the freedom that you were given the year before.
Yeah, definitely. The coaching aspect, Collie and Ryan are class coaches. So meticulous in everything they do, like from planning sessions to even before you go out on the pitch, you do video on your own team, on the team you're playing against, set pieces for you, set pieces against you, like everything. And I love that because I'm an organised freak, so that like put my mind at ease before even going out and training. You knew what you were doing, there was a plan, there was everything. They were brilliant at that, and that was definitely a big difference. But then from the freedom point of view, like I definitely did have freedom, don't get me wrong at all, but I think the way Shells played football was different. Obviously Shells are a very footballing team, and Rovers also are, and we got to be over the weeks and the months, and this year as well, there you can see it in them, like but when you started off, you're starting with 11 individuals. Like, we all played on different teams. Obviously a few of us came from here, a few of us came from there, but it was massively different. Like, I remember I was playing with Jess Hennessy beside me, and she was from Athlone, where she would have been used to going longer. And I remember at the start, I was like, Jesus, like, give me the ball. Like, you know what I mean? And then we started playing together and training, and that came on. But it was definitely a year that I probably didn't get the ball as much as I wanted. But I definitely learned a lot more defensively as well. Like, Collie worked on stuff with me at that. So it was, Collie and Ryan are excellent coaches. Yeah.
Interesting. Again, like, it probably made you a better player to where you are now, that you can actually go back to Shells knowing that, okay, this is the place I need to be, the place where I want to be. And at the same time, like, I'm a big believer in different voices anyway, that it's great just to come out of that pod a little bit, kind of just wake up to whatever you had to be woken up to, and then coming back in, you know?
Yeah, and I think it made me really realise why I play football. Like, I always knew I play football because I enjoy it, but I think I got like that sidetracked. I need to go professional, I need to make the next step, and I need to get out of my comfort zone. And then, like, looking back, I'm like I don't regret it, because that's what I did need to do at the time, and that's what I wanted to do. But I'm like, well, I'm only playing football now because I enjoy it. Like, no other reason, because other than I love it. Like, I'm not like a lad that's getting a full-time, wage or anything like that, and I need to be getting a contract here and there. It made me probably appreciate, and I always appreciate Shells, but it made me appreciate them more, and just the team and the environment more. But as I say, like, I'm not like, and I think everyone was shocked when I left Rovers, and then they're kind of saying, oh, like, what happened at Rovers? Like, nothing happened at Rovers. Rovers was great. The girls are great. It was a great environment. But for me, it was just the same enjoyment wasn't there. And I guess that links into, like I was saying, like, I live in Swords. Like, I was going 3 nights a week. I was leaving the house at 8 o'clock in the morning, not getting back to 10 o'clock at night, because you couldn't go home before work. And that was taking a toll, because it was almost becoming a second job. You're just becoming a robot. It was the same routine every day, whether it's now, like, you're going home, you have an hour or two before you go to training, and it makes a massive difference, especially when you're working full time as well. So yeah, there's a lot of things to it, to be honest.
This kind of goes back to the discipline aspect. Do you ever find, let's say you're in, like, the deep winter, like back in Rovers, like, you're in the deep winter, you are doing like 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. days. Do you ever feel like the discipline aspect and the hard working aspect of your personality kind of kicks in a little bit, where it's kind of like, I know I'm fatiguing, but I got to push through it, when it's the opposite is required. Like, you got to actually take a rest and a recovery thing. Because I always battle with that sometimes. Like, you can push through. It's like, you probably shouldn't in this case.
I'm the exact same. It was like you were tired because you had long days, but I didn't feel like, oh, I'm exhausted and I need to take a break. I was more getting angry, because it was like your time was spent, like, just traveling. It wasn't even that you were doing like an 8 to 10 o'clock day where you're on your feet all day. Like, my job is sitting down all day, but then you're spending probably an hour on the M50 over there. Then you're there 45 minutes earlier. You have the gym before your training. So I was almost like frustrated before training even started, because it's such a long day, but it wasn't productive the whole day. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like I was physically exhausted, but probably mentally a bit exhausted. So yeah, the days that you're not training, you're like, these are the days where I can actually, like, be at home or see my family or see my friends outside of football. So it was trying to get a balance that really wasn't working last year, to be honest. And that's probably a big reason why I did look at changing it, was because okay, football was fine. Yeah, I was performing. I was doing okay. Like, work was fine. That was fine. But I think my outside life was like, the days you weren't training, you were trying to make yourself rest. But then you're like, okay, I'm doing nothing other than going to work and playing football, and then seeing nobody else. So it was a struggle, definitely. Yeah.
Pain in the ass. Travel is the most inefficient things.
Oh, stop, yeah.
The M50. It's bleeding M50.
I'll tell you what now, it's beautiful driving home in like going home tonight on the M50 would be lovely.
Oh yeah, cruising, yeah.
Not cruising.
What the decision then when you did go back to Shells?
Yeah.
Was there any kind of fear going back, in the sense of what people might think, in that sense? Because obviously the league's such a small world, really, Irish football.
I think, I actually never mentioned, like, last year was really tough mentally, for the reason of when obviously a few of us left Shells to go to Rovers. We got slated, and rightly so, to be honest. Like, some people, like the fans, they didn't know anything in the background, so they have their right to think whatever they wanted to think. But by, I guess, some people in the footballing community that kind of, like, had a few comments to make, they were tough to take, because they knew more, and, like, it was just kind of, I don't know, they just decided to say whatever they said. But this year, going back, it definitely was a lot easier. Like, last year, Jesus, like, I remember when we were going to play Shells in Talca Park last March, like, I couldn't sleep for nights coming up for the game. It was that bad, yeah. And that's because obviously I'm really good friends with all the girls as well. But coming back, it wasn't as bad, no. I remember I met Pearl before I talked to anybody to see if it was even like a they would want me back, if she would want me back, kind of thing. And I'd always stay in touch with Pearl. So met her first. She was like, yeah, absolutely. Obviously, talk to Owen. I'll talk to the girls, kind of thing. So that was fine. And then it was like, yeah, you're kind of worried about what fans are going to say and social media, but it was actually very quiet. I don't think many people. I think I probably stayed off Twitter for about a month.
Yeah.
But because the last time, but it wasn't too bad at all. I didn't really have the fear. I was more like just happier to be back, to be honest.
Fans are funny though. The minute you go back and you're playing well,
yeah, they're all
they
right.
don't give a shit.
But I think, I guess,
Honestly,
like,
they change so quick.
from an outsider's point of view, like you were saying, like you won 2 back-to-back leagues, like you had Champions League coming up. Like I guess their question was, why did you all leave? So you can get there frustrating as well. Like yeah.
Yeah, but you're right though. There is some comments that cut deep, especially if it's people that they could say to you face to face versus online.
Yeah.
Like if they really did have an opinion. You know, I always think that's always interesting. We get a lot of shit online as well.
Jeez.
What were you sitting?
Yeah, my hip was killing me, Gary. My hip was killing me. Oh, all the time. Yeah, poor
This group, like.
Yeah.
Really?
Oh, we get.
I'm gonna address him
I
first.
get bleeding hammered.
Why am I sitting like this? Because my hip was killing me, Gary. I'll fix it up. I'll go here.
You're just like this.
No, my hip was killing me. I went for a run earlier and we're on the
See
pitch
with your back
after.
foot?
And then the load kills you.
I'm calling Paddy Kirk and Morgan now. I get bleeding hammered online for them do your best videos.
Yeah, no, we do. We get a lot of shit, yeah. Again, people would see, let's say, for example, a quick clip on TikTok, for example, and they say, oh, like there was one. Actually, this is the funniest one. Morgan and Gary were doing like an educational video on playing a 1-2 when you are basically in your corner trying to get out. So the ball went into Morgan, who was on the baseline, and then one of the comments like, he's offside. This is so stupid. It's like, shit, like you're going up the opposite side of the pitch, like. But I mean,
Didn't see that.
actually, if this is a call out to anybody that is like a T1-1 podcast advocate, if you go back into the archives, back into when we used to record this in our garage in my man and dad's gaff, there's a video where we go through all of the TikTok and the Instagram like hate comments within about half an hour. At that stage, we were kind of like, we weren't that big back then now. But it's hilarious.
So funny.
Some of them are gas.
Put your
But
foot through it, mate.
But I do feel bad, like, for actually the men footballers. They get like that was only a few comments for us, but like the lads that get like every week that get
just
they're
get
playing and
hammered.
get hammered on Twitter, like that must be tough to take. Like the girls football doesn't see that side, thank God. Like
yeah, social media, it's a weird old game.
Do the comments on ours ever annoy you?
Annoy me. I rarely get them. It may more so Morgan that would get them because he's kind of like the face of the social side of things.
Do you want to leave then and let him sit down?
It probably should.
Substitution.
I mean, no, a comment. I've came to peace with anything online because at the end of the day, they don't know everything. They've no idea of.
Literally, like you just said though, your man comments on it thinking it's the other way.
I know.
It's offside. It's like you're an idiot.
But that,
It clearly says the other way.
but that's a perfect representation of.
They don't have a
people.
clue.
They don't, and like the Shells thing, they've no idea. They've no idea about what your mind goes through.
Yeah.
Getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning, going down the infield. They don't see that.
yeah, and
all
that
they
was
see
the
is
frustrating thing, especially obviously the biggest comments was like they're going for money. And like so many times I would have loved to like just reply and be like, do the maths. Like I'm going from Swords to Tala 4 days a week. Diesel, tolls, like I don't know what people thought what money we were on. We were on a professional contract. You're getting taxed half of it anyway. Like but like nobody saw that side. And that was really frustrating for me. It's like Jesus Christ, I'd never play football for money. Obviously a professional contract, you're getting paid every month. That was the biggest difference. But like that was the money comments really got us. And like it's funny now looking back, like when we played Shells last year, they were throwing like fake notes at Matt Button in the goal and everything. You can laugh at it now, but when we were back there, like it was tough to take. But again, like nobody knows the ins and outs to it. Yeah,
they never do, and that's the problem. Even a social media account, like people would obviously go on a page, they see this person, like let's say driving a Ferrari in wherever, and they have that watch, but they don't know that they spent every single dollar that they had on that watch, and they have no friends. Like what?
And they have no friends.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. They could have no friends. They could have no parents. They could have no nothing.
Yeah.
Like, you don't know. You're just making an assumption off a Ferrari.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know why he's laughing.
See where you? They have no friends. Oh God.
You know exactly what I mean.
I do.
You know exactly what I mean. Honestly, I am the whipping boy of you two.
Put your foot through it, mate. We have to do another one of them videos. Oh God.
Yeah, the comments are always interesting. I don't know. As we were saying though, I kind of came to peace with the fact that they don't understand the full story. So there's no point even getting involved in it. But as you said, I couldn't imagine what people, 10x the following or the popularity get. They probably get shit every single day. And I think though a lot of like proper famous people, they don't do a lot of their social media at all. It's always outsourced.
Same with football.
And then obviously that can be to the detriment as well, because people can read it a mile away when it's something that's fake. And then in my opinion, it definitely, I wouldn't say tarnishes their relationship, but it definitely falsifies it. It's very hard to connect. Whereas some people manage their socials and there's instantly just a better connection. Yeah. But yeah, that's a whole rabbit hole. More importantly, the Ireland senior team. How did that come about, first of all? And why, after, let's say, the competitive game against Montenegro, why did you feel that there wasn't like a pathway to continue in that squad at that time? Because there's a couple of players that just kind of just got left out, but they weren't playing poorly, if that makes sense. Like, what happened in your opinion or whatever?
Yeah, I don't know. First of all, to even get called up, I think it was a surprise. Like, it was around the time I was saying we were in the student games and we'd just gotten back, and Gordon actually from Shells rang me and he was saying, "Oh, you're going to LA, we're going to the Rose Bowl." And I was like, "Oh, you mean like I'm on the extended squad?" And he's like, "No, you're going." I was like, Jesus, like I wasn't even playing that well at the time. It was a strange one, to be honest, but then when I got there, and I kind of played the 2 games and I played like decent. I was I don't know, I guess, I was surprised to be in the team, and you get in there and you're feeling good, you're playing, and obviously at the time it was, I think the manager was Tom O'Connor, and then obviously Vera came in. But that Montenegro game we played, and I played the full game, and then after we met Vera upstairs in Tallaght Stadium, and she's kind of like, "Oh yeah, the new team will be coming out, I'll be in contact with all you like in the next couple of days to just chit chat, which is like to obviously get to know you, whatever." That was grand. And then I actually did this is like how messed up it is. Like, I did the media event for the next game. I think, was it Ukraine, or it was another game in Tallaght Stadium anyway. So I did it with Louise Quinn. So like, you're the face of all the tickets going out for this game. And then I didn't get a call from Vera. I think I was on the extended squad that time, and then just never got communicated with. Like, to be honest, it was bizarre, like crazy. Never got a phone call. So then like I'd reached out to the assistant coach at the time to kind of get feedback, didn't get anything back. And then then I got back into, so that's when like that year I was saying 2021, that was like just a bad year because I was like so focused on it. And I was like, all right, is Vera going to be at our game this weekend? Need to play well, like want to get back on the team and not just like enjoying being at Shells and playing for Shells every week. So, but then I was back in home base, and then like eventually I spoke to Vera, and she just kind of said, this is like months after, so like no communication, nothing. And I was kind of like, oh, any feedback? Like, because I was kind of in the team, I was playing, and then just got knocked out of it all together. Like, and she had said, oh, I don't really see it as a right wing. And I was like, oh, that's because I'm a right back. Like, so it was kind of like, when she said that to me, I was kind of just like, all right. Like, yeah,
that kind of says enough, doesn't it?
So, and I was still in home base all the time, but like I wasn't getting anywhere in home base. Like, so that I think that was the toughest thing. It wasn't even like getting dropped. It was like that, like I like a process communication. So it was the lack of like telling me what I needed to do to give myself a chance. And obviously she just didn't fancy me as a player, which is fine. But the toughest part was probably just like not getting feedback. And you guys probably know that as coaches, like that's so important to give the players. So yeah, it was short-lived, to be honest. Very short-lived, yeah.
It's just sad, like, I mean,
yeah.
But I mean, obviously, a blessing, as we said.
We're mad for these blessings.
Honestly, you gotta put more time into the blessings. But what is it like playing in the States? I'm guessing there was like 80,000 people.
Yeah, there was a lot. Yeah.
Like, what is that like? I've never experienced anything like that before in my life.
That was actually like the one time it was like a goosebump moment. I remember we were warming up, and like my dad was like, "Oh, you're going to the Rose Bowl." I didn't even know what the Rose Bowl was. Like, and I remember then we were warming up in it, and I remember looking up, and like there was so many famous people there. Like, it was crazy. Like, I'm pretty sure Kobe Bryant was there.
At the game?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
At the time, yeah. I'm pretty sure he was with his daughter, yeah. And maybe the wife as well. It was a basketball player anyway. And I remember, like, thinking, Jesus, like, this is mental. And then obviously seeing Carly Lloyd, like, Kristen Press, all of them were there. And it was real goosebumps. That was like definitely the proudest moment of my life, yeah. And like then even when you start playing, like you're nervous, and then you kind of just get into it. Obviously we were defending the whole game. I think I was right wing back at the time, but like I was pretty much like right back. But it was we didn't play too bad. We lost 3-0, but it wasn't a bad result. But it was definitely the proudest time ever. But like it goes from that to the opposite end very quick, you know. And that's why like
time frame?
So we were in LA, maybe it was August.
Yeah.
Then we played Montenegro end of September, start of October. And then done, yeah.
Jesus.
So like you went from like, you were at the top of the world feeling, and then like it just, and after that USA game, there was actually a club in England onto me, and I was kind of like, at this stage I wasn't, I was working in the bank, but like I was just like working the banks Monday to Friday. I'd only been back 6 months from the States, so it wasn't like I was like hell-bent on a career in the bank either. So like I was very open to like football was my main priority, and I remember thinking, oh, like I'm not going to jump on the first offer. It's like maybe I'll get a few more caps under my belt, and then that just went as well. So yeah, you went from feeling up here to like the other side of it. And I think that's why like I look at the likes of male footballers, and I'm like, and even the female footballers in England now, I'm like, I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't go on like a 1-year contract not knowing what I'm doing next year. And that's probably a fault. I don't like the way I'm like that, but I don't think I could live that way. I think you're just worrying, especially because things like that happen. I went from being up here feeling unreal, and then like getting dropped on the other end of it. It was like like I couldn't do that for the next few years of my life.
Yeah,
like,
unless you're like
feeling
the
up
top,
and down mentally, and unless you're a Katie McCabe.
If you're the top 1%,
exactly. And you know you are
the security.
Like,
but yeah, that's the thing with football. It's 99% of footballers is year to year, and then injuries come into it and all that kind of stuff.
I remember
crazy though. Yeah.
I remember one of our mentors who we used to work with in UCD used to always say, this is a guy who is in first team environments now and obviously lives and breathes football, but he was saying like to our group of players, he goes, if I was to be honest with you guys, like I wouldn't recommend a career in football.
Really?
It's like 13-year-old kids, like I wouldn't recommend it. Like, and I didn't really understand at the time. I was like, Jesus Christ, like, are we not trying to inspire these kids? But I get it now because it is 98% negative days. Yeah. And then for those lucky crop that seem to just get the breaks, and there's a lot of luck involved, there obviously is huge upside. Again, from the outside, huge upside. But like that, I think it's a wise choice to say, you know, I don't like I wouldn't say friction. I would say more so like uncertainty. I wouldn't even say it's a like of comfort, but it's just a like of structure. I'd be quite similar as well. And I think people don't ask that question. I think people get drawn to football because of what they see on the TV, just as like the social media presence. And I think people like the idea of being a footballer per se, like having it in your Instagram bio and all that sort of crap. We see it all the time, like all the time. But I think it's important that players like you say that as well. Like it's kind of like it's not the be all and end all, but obviously you were kind of on the fence. It seems to me anyway that there's obviously a lot of opportunity. Still is a lot of opportunity now, obviously, but there had to be some real inward reflective thinking constantly, like, is this the fit? You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like, have you built that as a skill over time? I know like the Rovers thing was probably a bit of an interesting one for you, but do you feel like you're getting better every single year with making decisions that are more aligned to your personality?
Yes, probably. Probably as you grow up, you probably learn more about yourself. Yeah, definitely. Like probably the last 2 years, I've probably learned the most about myself. But like as I say, I look back, I'm like, I didn't actually have to make that move, and I wouldn't have had to like learn them difficult things, I'd say. But yeah, no, definitely in the last year, you kind of learn a bit about yourself. And like I say that like the uncertainty, I didn't like it. Like, but and like a lot of players who are successful on the Ireland team, if I had kept on going that route, I probably would have more favourably made a move to England if one came about. If you had that, as you say, you're kind of more comfortable in the team and you knew you were there. So it really depends on the person. But yeah, for me, I definitely learned that about myself. Like it just wouldn't suit me. Like even thinking about like professional football, like they're finished at 2:00 in the day. I'm like, what would I do for the rest of my day? Like that would kill me. Like, and I remember when I met an agent there last year, like he was saying like he kind of came from the same background as me in work environment, and he was saying, oh, you could do these exams and that kind of thing. And I was like, yeah, that would be perfect. So like I'd say a lot of players over there are doing maybe like online courses or something, but yeah, I guess everyone's different, and for me, like it's probably a bad trait more than a good, but like you can't just kind of sit still like that, like so. But yeah, I guess I recognised that about myself in the last year or two, so it wouldn't suit me. Yeah.
I meant to ask you, sorry, on the Irish stuff. Did you notice a massive difference in the tempo of a friendly versus a competitive European qualifying game?
Like in terms of playing against the USA in a friendly, or
Yeah, so the two caps you have were playing against the US in a friendly, and then the competitive game against Montenegro.
Yeah.
Was there did you notice a physical difference in those games, or a pressure difference, or was, like, to be honest, like, you're early in your international career there, I guess both games were just the biggest games you've ever played in your life?
I was gonna say, yeah, I think well, obviously because it was USA, that was probably more high intensity, even though it wasn't a competitive game than the Montenegro game, obviously because like they're world champions. But yeah, for Jesus, yeah, because I'd only kind of broke in. It was like every game was intense, and the same with the training. It was tough as well. But yeah, it was definitely a big step up. But it was kind of, I guess what I was happy about was because I was only back from the States a few months. I was used to the training every day, and that kind of side of it, like the fitness aspect, was fine. It was probably just technically, like, you know, Denise O'Sullivan, Katie McCabe, they're obviously the best players in the country. So that was a step up. But yeah, it was definitely a step up in terms of intensity as well. Yeah.
God, like, if I feel sorry for you, to be honest with you, with the communication aspect, that would have killed me.
Yeah.
Like, I must have chipping away at you. It probably still does chip away at you a little bit, does it?
Yeah, it was definitely tough at the time, like, because you're kind of just, and I was younger at the time, obviously, and like that was like football was my main priority, and you're kind of like, just where do you go from here? And I think like that kind of shifted my focus probably to my job, because I was like, well, obviously I'm still playing for Shells, but like that doesn't take up too much of your time. So that kind of shifted my focus in doing more exams in my job and like getting the role I have now. But yeah, it was tough. Like, and the community, like, but like then you have to get on with it, don't you? Like, what are you gonna do about it? Sit around and cry about it, or, you know, if the manager doesn't obviously have a liking to you. Other players were saying, like, because there's a few players that kind of approached her and was saying like, why am I in? And they ended up getting in, and like that was their approach to it. I remember one of the senior players saying that to me, like, talk to her, ask her why, and she'll call you in for a camp, she'll give you a chance. But for me, I was like, if she wants me, she'll pick me. I wasn't going to be that. And like, that's fine. Like, you could have asked and you could have got in and made an impression. But for me, I'm stubborn like that. Like, I would want the manager to like me as a player and pick me for that rather than you go to them. So it took a while to get over, but I think then that when Noel King came in, that's when I kind of got back to myself and got confident again. And then seeing like Vera at games or scouts at games, like it didn't bother me because it wasn't really my priority. It was like Shells was my priority, and then had a really good 2 years with Shells. So yeah.
And as we're concluding, what's your relationship now like with football? Is it all just enjoyment with no stress of what is the future?
Yeah, definitely all enjoyment. Like, as in no stress about the future. Like, obviously want to win the league with Shells, but like completely focused on club. And I think that's the best way to be. Like, if you're focused on club and you're playing your best at your club, you would believe that you would get called in if you were doing good enough. Obviously I think the whole team is nearly abroad now at this stage, which is fair enough. Like, if I'm a manager, I would think the same. Like, if you have a full-time player compared to a part-time player, it's different. But no, my focus is definitely just enjoying it, especially this year. Like last year, obviously it was tough. Like, I enjoyed it at Rovers, but like the mental side of it was definitely tougher. So this year it's just like enjoying it with the girls, and I think that's when I play the best. So not putting, I guess, too much pressure on myself. Yeah,
I really enjoyed that conversation. To be honest with you, like the thing that I get most from these conversations is just getting to understand the different use cases in football. Like, the amount of people that just like look at your games, they just see Jess Gargan, fullback, like reliable, good player, but they don't see the layers. They don't see the struggles. They don't see just the varying little bits of personality that I just find very interesting in people. So thank you for coming on and being honest, because it's difficult sometimes for people to speak about, like, even the Rovers Shells thing. Like, it's a weird thing to talk about, like, and I just always appreciate the honesty that people have. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.